Still, the idea of taking a trip to the coast was surprisingly appealing. And if she hadn't invited her sons for Sunday brunch tomorrow, she'd take off right now. But all things in good time. She would spend the day with her boys and their girlfriends tomorrow. Then on Monday morning, she'd reschedule this week's appointments, make a hotel reservation, and leisurely venture on over for what she hoped would be an interesting trip down memory lane. It might even turn into a much-needed vacation. Perhaps she could pretend that, like everyone else, she was moving on too. At least for a week, anyway. Because she had no doubts that after her restful week in Portside, she'd come back here and get her nose to the grindstone again. That was what she did, and she had a long list of important clients with high expectations. Mrs. Denton wanted her entire house finished by early August for her family reunion. Sunshine Estate Realty wanted a bid to redo their lobby, and Alice Moore was still waiting for her high-end kitchen appliances to arrive. Perhaps Mallory would track those down from the coast. Mallory was aware she'd inherited more than just her father's dark brown eyes, height, and prematurely gray hair. She ran her fingers through her thick, shoulder-length hair. It took her years to give up the dark brown dye she'd hidden behind since her late 20s, but ironically, now that it was shiny and silver, people often assumed she had it done at the salon. Besides Dad's physical looks, Mallory had been blessed with his workaholic ways. Early on, she'd blamed her obsessive work ethic on being the only breadwinner after Vince's disappearing act, but she suspected these habits went deeper than that. And although she'd always promised herself she'd slow down after the kids were launched, she was still going strong, and her clientele list was as demanding as ever, and growing. She'd get one client satisfied and, like whack-a-mole, 2 more would pop up. More people than ever wanted their homes redone these days. Sometimes, usually around 3 a.m, Mallory grew worried. What if she continued this hectic path? Would she work herself to death and follow her father into an early grave? Sometimes, again, only at 3 a.m, she'd even feel her heart fluttering frantically, imagining it was giving out on her. But her last doctor's visit had confirmed she was in generally good health for her age. Although death was one surefire way to move on, it wasn't something she felt ready for. Despite knowing 50 wasn't too far in her distant future, she still felt fairly young and fit. And if Louisa and Marshall had children as soon as Louisa hoped, Mallory could become a grandmother. Perhaps it was time to slow down some and reevaluate her life plan. And perhaps Grandma Bess was offering her the opportunity. God willing and the creek don't rise, she planned to check it out.